Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our Croatia travel talk. We're excited to dive into lots of helpful and interesting details about this beautiful destination in Europe and talk a little bit about our itinerary and the route that we take in Croatia and some other travel tips and interesting tidbits for Croatia. So joining us to present today's event, my name is Laura. I'm the co-owner of Traverse Journeys. And our co-hosts are Croatia resident, Olivia. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Olivia. Nice to meet you all, and thanks for joining us today.
Excellent. Thank you for being here, Olivia. Our host, as you said, Traverse Journeys is bringing this event to you today. So a little bit about Traverse Journeys to start things off. Traverse Journeys is a travel company that's been around for around 8 years, más o menos, more or less. And we offer small group trips, self-guided itineraries, and custom trips in a couple of dozen different destinations around the globe. Our tagline or motto that we infuse every trip with is people, planet, and purpose. So what that means when we look at people, planet, and purpose, for people, we look to infuse culturally connected experiences in every destination that we travel to. It's important. We feel that when you travel to a new country, you really make an effort to connect with locals, learn about customs, traditions, and really, experience local culture in an immersive way and in a, sometimes off the beaten pathway and just really kind of diving in and touching down with the day-to-day life of locals in that space. And then for our planet, of course, we look to take you to absolutely stunning and beautiful places across the planet. And when we do so, we're always keeping in mind how to make sure that we're visiting these places in a low impact way or in a regenerative and sustainable way so that they're around for many, many more generations to come. And we partner with different organizations that work in conservation, and we really prioritize sustainability and positive environmental impacts throughout the itinerary and when we visit especially beautiful places. When it comes to purpose, that means that we're really looking to infuse our trips with experiences that look to transform and educate and, leave you coming away from the trip with more than just, a collection of photos of pretty places. We offer different kinds of trips. Sometimes we do retreats and look at, transformational experiences. But we also partner with local organizations on every trip that we create and donate a portion of sales to that organization and connect with them to learn about, different issues that they might be addressing, whether that's environmental or social impact. So we're, looking to infuse meaning and purpose and bring you an experience that goes well beyond just ticking things off a list. That's a little bit about Traverse Journeys and our people, planet, purpose. Today's agenda will go over a few things in terms of Croatia. We'll look at a snapshot of Croatia, talk about the geography, climate, history, culture. We'll go into detail on the Traverse itinerary and what makes it unique, the day-to-day of what you'll be doing, and the route that we take. And then we also have an add-on option to visit Montenegro next door to Croatia, which we'll mention. We'll talk about our community partner in Croatia, which is, like I said, the local organization that we partner with on every trip. We'll find a community partner. Talk a little bit about our accommodations and food selections throughout the journey. Some general travel tips for Croatia. And then at the end, We'll be offering some discounts for bookings after today's event for those of you who registered. And we'll also have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please stick around and let us know what your questions are, and we'll be happy to go over that before we finish things off today. So I'll hand it over to our Croatia expert, Olivia, to begin diving into the details of this fantastic destination. Go ahead, Olivia.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Welcome everyone again to our info session today, and thanks again for joining us. My name is Olivia. I was born and raised in the US to Croatian parents, and I have been living in Croatia for the last 10 years. Traveling to the country my entire life and exploring even more so since I've been living here full time since 2014. So I'm really excited to talk about Croatia today and share this awesome itinerary we have planned for you. So to get started, this is a map of Croatia. You can see that it is shaped like a C. I am located up here in the capital of Zagreb, which is in like continental Croatia. Yeah, right there where Laura's mouse is. And our trip will take us from the capital down through Plitvice Lakes, which is a little bit further south, and then all down the Croatian coast until we reach Dubrovnik. Okay, so let me just move this over here. Okay, so a little snapshot of Croatia for you. Croatia is a pretty small country, a little bit less than 22,000 square miles. So it's similar to the size of West Virginia. It's made up of 20 counties with 4 historical and cultural regions. So Croatia proper, also known as like continental Croatia, Dalmatia, which is all along the coast, Istria, which is a peninsula in the northwest of Croatia, and Slavonia, which is the eastern section of the country. So this our Croatia itinerary will take you through parts of Croatia proper, continental Croatia, and then also along the Dalmatian coast. Croatia has a population of 3.9 million, with about 1 million living in and around Zagreb. The currency is the euro. We switched over to the euro last year, and since then, the only currency accepted is the euro. You can use cards, like credit cards in Croatia. Most like stores accept cards, but you will want to have some cash on you for some smaller establishments or cafes, bakeries, and local markets that only take cash. In Zagreb, you'll find Croatia's largest and main airport. And then following Zagreb, we have airports in Split, Dubrovnik, and Zadar. And each of these airports offer international flights to other major cities in Europe year-round, with more frequent flights between the months of like April and September. Okay, a little bit about Croatia's geography and climate. So Croatia is bordered by the Adriatic Sea that sits right between Italy and Croatia, and all along the sea is the Dalmatian coast. The country has a pretty Mediterranean climate, so that means warm, hot and dry summers, and I would say pretty mild winters. It does snow in parts of Croatia, like where I'm at in Zagreb. It actually just snowed yesterday. But parts of Croatia along the coast, like Dalmatian coast and the further south you get, including some of the islands, it usually will rain a little bit in the winter. But for the most part, it is pretty sunny. As far as the biodiversity of the country, you'll find a lot of vineyards, a lot of olive groves that produce, honestly, some of the best olive oil you'll ever try. Lots of seafood along the coast. The cuisine in continental Croatia is a bit more influenced by some surrounding area countries like Austria and Hungary. So they're a little bit more like meat heavy with some seasonal vegetables, whereas the food along the coast is more seafood based, almost with a little bit of like Italian influence. So you can expect like risottos and pastas and things like that. And yeah, can move on to the next one. Okay, so a little bit about Croatia's history and culture. So Croatia has existed as a territory for a very long time, but it has actually only been a country for about 30 years. And throughout its history, there has been a lot of influences, starting with the Romans from around 11 BC to the 5th century along the Dalmatian coast. So when you're traveling along Croatia's Dalmatian coast, you will see a lot of Italian influence in the architecture, like I mentioned before, in a little bit of the cuisine, and even in some of the words, the vocabulary, the language used in those parts of Croatia. The Venetian Empire also ruled parts of
Olivia, you just you're muted all of a sudden.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm not sure what the last you heard was, but the Austro-Hungarian
You were just
Empire.
talking about Venetian
Okay,
culture. Yeah.
so the Venetian Empire ruled parts of Croatia from the 14th to the end of the 17th century, and then the Austro-Hungarian Empire ruled a lot of northern Croatia. So you'll notice a lot of architecture from like Hungary, Austria inspired, especially when you're walking around in Zagreb. The same area was also ruled by the Ottomans. And then once you start getting around Dalmatia, Dubrovnik, that area, Dubrovnik particular, was ruled for, was a republic known as the Republic of Ragusa for about 500 years. Many of you have probably seen Dubrovnik in Game of Thrones. That's part of the town's rise to fame. And what else about Croatia? Croatia was part of former Yugoslavia, which was originally formed at the end of World War I. And the breakup of Yugoslavia happened in the early 1990s, and that is when Croatia became an independent state and has remained so ever since. So it is a fairly young country. Regarding the language in Croatia, we speak Croatian, and the people of Croatia are called Croats or also Croatians. Okay, so why travel Croatia with Traverse? Well, we offer in-depth and unique experiences. A great part about this particular Croatia itinerary is that we go during shoulder season, which is considered like the months of April, May, and then also like September, October. So our next trip is going to be in the spring, which is shoulder season, and that is a fantastic time to explore Croatia because you'll get to see a lot of the country's major sites without the crowds, and you'll have a lot of these really beautiful places to yourself. You'll also have a local guide and lots of unique local experiences that you might not be able to really get on your own. You'll explore regional differences, which you'll get a taste for different parts of Croatia through this itinerary that will take you from continental Croatia to the coast. We, of course, focus on people and planet, cultural connection, and of course, all of our trips like to focus around history and really get deep into the soul of each destination we visit, and Croatia is no exception.
Excellent. Yeah. And another thing, that you can look for in our Croatia itinerary, we'll choose boutique and small, locally owned, family run, often boutique B&Bs and hotels. We'll kind of touched on the historic and cultural highlights. We like to infuse, time in nature and smaller towns and villages, as well as the bigger cities like Zagreb or Split. We look at seasonal cuisine and ways that we can really taste and try, different local specialties and things that are, in harvest currently at that time of the year. Including, local wines along the, I believe in the coast. And we have a give back element with the local community partner, which focuses on ocean conservation. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. And our groups are small. It says 8 to 12 here, but sometimes we'll even have, as 6 people on our trips, or it's a nice, family sized adventure that often everybody gels really well together by the end. So these are kind of the aspects of most Traverse itineraries, and certainly our Croatia itinerary. You can see, we've been running our Croatia trip for several, quite a few years. We've had lots of fantastic groups and really lovely feedback along the way from our guests. So you can read a little bit about, the experience and what other people have enjoyed about the trip. Whether it's the Peka dinner, which we'll talk about, having a local guide. And, one of the things too that we do is we infuse free time as well as, scheduled activities. So you have time to really, wander and immerse yourself and kind of choose your own adventure at different points throughout the itinerary, instead of having a packed schedule, every single day from morning to night. So I'll give it back to you, Olivia, to dive into the day-to-day details of our Croatia trip. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so here is kind of an overview of the itinerary we have planned for you in Croatia. We will start in the north, in Zagreb. That's where I am right now. And we will make our way down through to Plitvice Lakes National Park, which if you've ever seen photos of Croatia, you've certainly seen photos of Plitvice Lakes National Park, and it is absolutely breathtaking. From there, we'll continue down the coast, stopping at some coastal towns along the way, including Zadar, Split, the town of Ston, before we end our trip in Dubrovnik. Okay, so on day 1, you will arrive to Zagreb. You'll arrive at the Zagreb International Airport and transfer to our boutique hotel. If you are doing a self-guided tour, the Zagreb Airport is where you will pick up your rental car, and then you can drive to the hotel with parking on site. Zagreb is Croatia's capital city. It's a city that I've called home for the last 10 years. I absolutely love it. I think that it is a very underrated European capital. So this is an awesome chance to explore a really, really beautiful city. And it is alive with culture, arts, lots of food. You'll see cafes buzzing with people at all times of day, during the workday, in the evenings, in the mornings. It's a part of life here, and it's definitely unique to Zagreb and Croatia as well. So on this first day in Zagreb, you'll take a walk into town, and you'll enjoy a welcome dinner that will include traditional Croatian specialties made from fresh and seasonal ingredients, which is something that you'll experience throughout your entire trip, is that the food in Croatia is very focused on seasonal ingredients. Everything is very fresh, freshly prepared, and yeah, overall delicious food. So on day 2, you'll have a chance to explore Zagreb. So this is a list of the major sites that you will get to see while on this trip. So the Dolac Market, which is the biggest and oldest open-air farmers market in the city. There are two levels to it. The upper level has stalls featuring like fresh produce, homemade cheese, dairy, nuts, honey, all kinds of things. So you get to walk through there and get a taste of local life. People still shop there every single day for their groceries. You'll explore historic tunnels from World War II that go underneath the city. Jelačić Square, which you can see in this photo, which is a central meeting point for locals and kind of the beating heart of the city. Then we have Lotršćak Tower, which is located in the upper town of the city, and you will get to hear the cannon. The cannon sound is not a real cannon that's fired from the tower every day at noon, and learn about the history behind that. St. Mark's Church, which is also a landmark of Zagreb with its famous intricately tiled roof. The Homeland War Museum, Museum of Broken Relationships, Zagreb's Art Pavilion, which is certainly one of the prettiest buildings in the city, as well as the Croatian National Theater.
Yeah, on this day, we'll do a walking tour and have a chance to kind of point out and visit some of these places. And then you'll also have free time for part of the day to kind of explore on your own as you like. Excellent. So just a couple more pictures of Zagreb here. Beautiful, beautiful city. And then on to day 3.
So on day 3, you'll start your drive down south to Plitvice Lakes. It's about a 2-hour drive from Zagreb, and it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It features 16 lakes with, I forget, I think it's like over 100 waterfalls. It is incredibly beautiful, and spring and fall, I believe, are the best times to visit because it does get quite crowded in the summer. So you'll have plenty of space to enjoy the park without lots of other people around you. And it's a really special place. You'll enjoy a few hours of hiking. I would say it's not like intense hiking. It's more of maybe like brisk walking. Really nice trails. There's like over water wooden pathways that you'll get to walk through and around the waterfalls and over the lakes. And you'll also enjoy a picnic style lunch while you're there. Nearby Plitvice Lakes is a charming village called Rastoke, and it is basically an old mill town that is built over a series of waterfalls, and it is very fairy tale like and a really nice place to stop nearby the lakes. And after your visit to the lake, you'll continue to drive south through the countryside until you reach Zadar. And that's where you'll have time to kind of settle in and rest before ending your day with a traditional seafood feast from this part of the Dalmatian coast. So day 4 is all about the coastal towns of Zadar and Split. You'll enjoy an early morning walk around Zadar. Zadar is a really nice seaside city that is kind of like sprinkled with Roman ruins. So it's pretty cool when you're walking around the city. You'll just kind of like run into these ancient pieces of history. And after that, you will continue your drive to Split, where you'll enjoy a lunch at a family-owned estate, where you'll get to sample fresh and local organic olives, figs, wines, cheeses, and cured meats. If you ask me, this is like the highlight of Croatian cuisine. Yeah, definitely some of the best. And then after that, you'll get a short orientation tour of the city of Split, and you'll get to kind of go through Diocletian's Palace. One really cool thing about Diocletian's Palace is there's no official entrance. The old town of Split was kind of built around the palace, so it kind of all fuses together, and you could be walking through parts of the palace and not even know. So that is a really neat experience. You'll get to walk along the Riva, which is Split's waterfront promenade, which is lined with palm palm trees and cafes and restaurants. It's a really nice place to enjoy a cup of coffee or a drink, or even grab something to eat. And then you'll also check out the local farmers market. After that, you'll head to Marian Hill for sunset views of the city. Marian Hill is a peninsula, I think it's west of the city, and it is covered in lush green pine forest. And there is a hill with lots of different walking trails that lead to the top for a really, really nice view of the Split waterfront. And around the base of Marian Hill are a lot of Split's prettiest beaches. So if you have time, that's a nice place to go for a swim. And then you'll end your day in the city, and you'll get to choose from a bunch of different restaurants in Split for some locally sourced cuisine or trying the local brandy. Yeah, there are a lot of great restaurants to choose from in Split, so you really can't go wrong. On day 5, you'll have breakfast with our community partner, Green Sail, and learn about what they're doing to promote sustainable tourism through recycling and educational programs along the coast. And then you'll have a free day, so you can choose from a bunch of different options, including an in-depth tour of Diocletian's Palace. You can head up to the medieval fortress of Clis, which was also featured in Game of Thrones. Or you can just have a leisurely day at one of Split's beaches. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of beautiful beaches around the Marian Hill Park area. And we have a local host that can help arrange any activities that you're interested in, and then also recommend spots for you to grab some dinner and try some local food. Okay, some pictures of Split. On day 6, you will continue your way down the Dalmatian coast with a scenic drive to Dubrovnik. This drive is actually very, very beautiful with lots of mountains around, very nice scenery. And you will stop in the town of Ston, which is on the Pelješac Peninsula, about an hour and a half north of Dubrovnik. And this area of Croatia is very famous for its oyster farming and also for its 14th century fortress walls, which are, I guess, considered the second longest defense walls in Europe. And there you will get to enjoy a wine tasting and enjoy different Croatian specialties paired with cheese and a local charcuterie board. And everything, of course, is produced from the area. Another interesting fact about Ston is they have some of the oldest salt pans in Europe that are still in operation to this day, and they still use like the traditional method of harvesting sea salt as well. So that is something interesting to see while you're there. And then you will end day 6 in Dubrovnik with some time for an evening stroll around the city and time to grab a bite to eat as well. Okay, day 7 in Dubrovnik. You'll visit Stari Grad, which translates to Old Town, and the entire Old Town of Dubrovnik is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and here you'll have about a 3-hour walking tour to get to know the town, learn about its history, and then you'll have the rest of the day free to wander around the cobblestone streets, do some shopping, enjoy some local cuisine. You can take a walking tour of the old city walls, or you can do that on your own as well. It takes about 2 hours to complete the loop around the walls, and that's including time for like stopping and taking photos and enjoying the view. You don't have to complete the 2 hours. You can get off earlier. There are a few stops where you can actually get off the walls earlier, but it's a really, really beautiful walk, and I would highly recommend doing the walk around the walls. Another option is to hike up to Mount Srđ, which is the mountain that sits behind Dubrovnik, and an alternative option to hiking is also taking the cable car to Mount Srđ. It is a pretty short cable car ride, but it has beautiful views of the city, and it's really nice to take at sunset. And then that day in the late afternoon, we'll head a little bit outside of the city for a traditional Peka dinner experience. And this is a really special experience because you get to see a traditional way of preparing this dish that is cooked in like a cast iron, almost looks like a big bowl with like a bell lid. Um, the food is cooked in there. Usually it's a type of meat, usually lamb, but octopus is also sometimes cooked in there as well with vegetables, and it's cooked over coals for a couple of hours. So this is a really nice experience that you have with locals, and you'll also, while there, get to learn about life as a local in a Croatian village and sample the traditional food and, of course, local wine.
Just some pictures of Dubrovnik. You'd mentioned that it was featured in Game of Thrones. So yeah, a lot of the city might look familiar to people that have followed that show. But yeah, it's a gorgeous, yeah, beautiful place to wander around. And yeah, day 8 of the trip, essentially, you can depart anytime your flight from Dubrovnik Airport. And we'll arrange your transportation to the airport. Of course, you can always add on days if you want to stay in Dubrovnik for a couple more nights. And we do also have the option of adding a Montenegro itinerary. So Montenegro is just next door, another beautiful country. And the dates of our Montenegro trip align with the end of the Croatia trip. So you can do Croatia and then jump right into Montenegro, which you can see from Dubrovnik is just a little hop, skip, and a jump there. What were some of the highlights of Montenegro, Olivia? Do you remember? The national park. Yeah, it's you can find out the details on our website. The Montenegro trip is listed there. So we'll maybe have another live event to focus on the Montenegro itinerary. But yeah, just know that it's something you can add on to Croatia. So our community partner, as I mentioned, we have a community partner on every trip. For Croatia, it's an organization called Green Sail, which, yeah, Olivia touched on. They work a lot with ocean conservation, a lot of tourism and business, everything, with being such a coastal country, there's a lot of tourism that comes in from the seas and just other trade and business. So it's very important, to make sure that the coastal areas are being kept beautiful. And, there's a lot that they do to focus on, recycling and, managing waste and trash. And we'll get a chance to learn all about their efforts and support what they do when we meet with them. So our accommodations, as I mentioned, we look for really beautiful places that have a small, local, unique feel. We're looking at places where you're walking distance to, all the exploring the towns or the sites. And breakfast included. You can have either 2 single bed or twin beds sharing, or 1 large bed. You can have your own room or share with a travel buddy. But yeah, really nice accommodations. Olivia, you talked a little bit about the food. Is there anything else you want to dive into regarding the food in Croatia? It's a highlight, I know.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that it is very, very fresh, very local. I mean, there's a lot of great food in Croatia. I would say very protein heavy, but you can find some vegetarian options as well. And on the coast, definitely try the seafood, lots of different seafood options. Black risotto, for example, is one of like the main dishes that I would recommend trying while you're on the coast. And yeah, I think it's a nice blend, almost Italian-y with some influences from, like I mentioned before, Austria, Hungary, Turkey. But yeah, overall I think it's great food.
Yeah, and lots of, yeah, like we said, local and seasonal produce. And there is definitely the option to cater to, dietary restrictions. If we have any vegetarians or vegans or gluten-free, just let us know, and we're happy to accommodate those dietary needs. So yeah, we can touch on some general travel trips for Croatia. Olivia, do you want to dive in?
So Croatia, in regards to like seasons and weather, Croatia has 4 seasons, so spring, summer, fall, and winter. I would say that it's like the winters are pretty mild. If you're visiting in spring or fall, it's good to bring clothing that you can layer. It can be, nice during the day, like nice and comfortable, but maybe in the evenings or early in the mornings, you might need like a light jacket or something. If you forget something, you can definitely find it here. But I would say like a lot of layering options are good for spring and fall. Summer, it is hot and dry. I would say, I don't want to say expect no rain, because I think thanks to global warming, we've had some interesting weather. But for the most part, summers are hot and dry. Clothing wise, Croatia doesn't have any real like specific rules, I guess, to follow in terms of clothing. Um, I would say for summer, maybe go for more like natural materials, cotton, linen. That's definitely something that you want to be wearing when it's hot outside. And then, like I mentioned, layering is always a good option. As far as safety and street smarts, Croatia is a very safe country. But of course, as with anywhere in the world, you should be aware of your surroundings, make sure you know where your valuables are, and just, yeah, be aware. But I think for the most part, it is safe, even when walking around at night. Cultural etiquette. I mean, just be polite. There's nothing like specific here I can say. It is useful to, um, maybe learn a few words like hello, please, and thank you. The locals really appreciate that. I would say the majority of the people majority of the locals you will come across in the destination visiting will know English, or at least some English, but kind of as a sign of like respect, it is good to know just a few Croatian words that aren't hard to learn, and it'll go a long way with the locals. As far as what to pack, I mean, comfortable walking shoes, that is for sure. Maybe something that I would add would be like a light waterproof jacket that you can layer in case it does rain a little bit in the spring or the fall if you're visiting then. And like I said, just clothes that you can layer easily. And then as far as route planning, you don't have to worry about that because we've planned everything for you, whether or not you join our group trip, and then also our self-guided itinerary. We've made sure to highlight all of the best spots for you. And yeah.
And some smaller off the beaten path places, which,
Yeah.
if you're traveling Croatia on your own and working, with buses or trains, it might be hard to stop at some of these smaller off the beaten path type places, which is, yeah, it's nice to mix those in with the sort of main key destinations along the way. So we'll yeah, our dates for Croatia, our next dates will be in the spring of 2025. And if you book that trip by April 15th of this year, you'll receive $200 off per person. Just use the discount code Croatia Live on your booking form, and that discount will be applied to your invoice. And then, yeah, as we mentioned, so our self-guided itinerary follows the same route. And you can choose your own dates. So with 2 or more people, you can book the self-guided trip, and we'll do all the planning and booking and everything for you. So you'll just show up and follow the route. And yeah, you can choose any dates for that throughout the year. And we'll offer you $100 off per person for bookings on that option if you book before April 15th. You can find all the details for this trip, of course, on our website, traversejourneys.com/trips/Croatia. If you enjoyed today's event, I just want to mention we do have some other ones coming up. April 2nd, we'll be diving into the details of our Chile and Patagonia itinerary. April 8th, we'll be taking a little trip around the Emerald Isle of Ireland. You can find all the details for these events on Eventbrite or in your local meetup international travel group. And you can also find the link on the Traverse Journeys trip page for these events coming up. So with all of that said, are there any questions? Feel free to turn on your video and unmute yourself. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer any details that we didn't go over, perhaps. Anyone? Yes, no, maybe so.
I'm Cheryl, and I was
Hi,
wondering,
Cheryl.
can you hear me?
Yes.
I was wondering what the single supplement is, how much extra?
Off the top of my head,
Generally speaking.
Yeah. So what we do for all of our trips, just in case it's not clear, is if you're signing up as a solo traveler, which many of our travelers are solo travelers, we have probably at least 50%, usually more, of the participants on any trip are signing up individually. And you have the option to share a room as a solo traveler. So you can sign up at the shared room price and we'll pair you with another traveler of the same gender if you like. But if you do want your own room, let's see here. It looks like it's $5.95 for the 8-day trip if you want to have your own room. Thank you, Cheryl. Any other questions?
As far as the airfare goes, do you go out of certain major cities or?
Well, airfare is not something that we manage or include because, we have travelers coming from many different places, sometimes even outside the US. So everyone gets themselves to the starting point of the tour, and we pick you up at the airport and take care of everything from there and bring you to the airport. And you can choose whatever flights work best for you to get to and from the destination.
In these days of air travel and delays and whatnot, do you recommend coming in ahead of time?
It's certainly, it's not something that we require per se, but we do have a lot of travelers that opt to arrive to the destination the day before. And it's always great for peace of mind. And, it gives you just a little, some time to kind of settle and relax and get a good night's sleep. And and of course, if there's any issues or delays, you have a bit of buffer there. So if you want to arrive a day before, we'll happily arrange, an extra night at our hotel so that you can settle in and avoid any, possible issues with flight delays.
And how about then getting from the airport? If you come in early, will you still be able to get from the airport?
Typically, yes. Typically, we can still provide your airport transfer. On this trip, I believe that's definitely the case because you're flying into Zagreb and going straight there. Some of our trips where on day one, we're traveling a few hours from where the international airport is to our first spot. On those kinds of trips, we have hotels, in the city where the international airport is, and we can arrange your accommodation. Sometimes the transfer, I believe, is still usually included, but sometimes it might be outside of what's included.
Okay.
Laura, this is Jane. Is there
Hi.
any way that you will put on like a presentation like this for the add-on for Montenegro?
Absolutely. Yes. I believe it's on our calendar later in April that we'll be diving into all the Montenegro details.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question.
And do you spend the one day that you spend at the national park? In your opinion, is one day enough there? If you really enjoy that type of thing?
Yeah, Olivia, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think that for Plitvice Lakes, one day is definitely enough. Usually people spend about 4-ish hours there, and the main trails take about 3 to 4 hours, depending on your pace. You certainly could extend to more days if you wanted to kind of explore other areas of the park, but I do think one day is enough.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for these great questions, everyone. Anything else
No, I'm good.
come to mind? Excellent. Well, if any further questions arise, you can reach out to us on email at hello@traversejourneys.com. You can find us on social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest at Traverse Journeys. And of course, perusing the website is a great way to remind yourself of any details or get any further details on our Croatia trip. So thank you everyone for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you. And thank you, Olivia, for giving us lots of fantastic details on your home in Croatia that you love.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Olivia.
having me.
Excellent.
I'm sorry, I do have one last question. Do you
Oh,
have
please, go
a
ahead.
travel insurance company that you work with?
Yes, that's a great question. We recommend and love working with our travel insurance partner. Wanderwell is the name of it. We don't require that anyone purchase their policy through Wanderwell. We do require travel insurance in general, but you're welcome to choose or show proof of whatever policy you might already have or, that you prefer. But yeah, we really enjoy working with Wanderwell. They have great policies, great prices, fantastic customer service. So yeah, that would be our favorite.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you for these great questions. And yeah, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you at another event in the near future where we explore other destinations or perhaps on our Croatia trip in 2025 or a self-guided version before then, if you like. So have a wonderful rest of your day and until next time. Bye-bye, everyone.